Streatham there, 0800 731 2000. You've still got another 45 minutes or so to join in the conversation tonight. Hundreds of black school children are being taken out of their classrooms, and some are encouraged never to return through the practice of informal exclusions. This is according to a new report that pupils considered to be difficult or challenging are being excluded either formally or through informal means by schools to allegedly advance their positions on league tables. So race on the agenda, which is this new report, found informal exclusions are often not recorded by the schools who practice them as a way of off-booking exclusions without it being shown on school records. Let's speak to Maurice Macleod, who's the director at Race on the Agenda. Maurice, good evening. Appreciate the time. Tell me, first of all, Maurice, is it just black children that are more likely to be this informally excluded or not? Hello? Maurice? Hello, Maurice. How are you? Hello, Maurice.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, Dotun.
Yes, it is. Good to see
How
you.
you doing, sir?
I was wondering, Maurice, if it's, primarily or exclusively black children who are being informally excluded in schools now.
Yeah, no, it's not exclusively black kids, no. No, of course not.
That was why I was thinking. Obviously, Race on the Agenda, you're focusing on black children.
Yeah.
First of all, why are these informal exclusions happening? Is it simply to get rid of problem children?
That's I guess why the school would think, but I guess the challenge is who is a problem child. So a problem kid for a school is any child who might damage their Ofsted rating or damage their stats on attainment. You know, their O level and I'm sorry, not O level. I'm showing my age. GCSE stats. So anyone that's not going to improve that could be described as a problem child. Now,
that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids.
But if you look at black or GRT kids and you think, oh well, they look like they're not going to help, then the prejudgment comes in. That's why the race element is in there.
How does it work? What is an informal exclusion? How does it formally work, if you like?
Yeah. So there are so people understand, I think, what formal exclusions are. So you can either be chucked out of school permanently, like, you know, you've been so bad, don't come here anymore, etc., etc. Or you can be what I used to call suspended, so temporarily excluded, where you know you go for a set period and you know you do whatever, and then you come back and then you're part of the school. Now these informal exclusions, it's a range of things. So you're talking about everything from, you know, Dutton, you're really annoying me. Go and sit in the library for the next couple of hours until you calm down. You just, you know, or, you know, go home. You know, the next week we're doing exams. You've got no chance. Just go home. Come back next week. You know, but nothing formal is written down there. So basically anything where the teachers don't record, where you can't appeal against it. That's the bottom line. If you or your parent can't go, well, why has this happened? And you know, we think this is wrong, then that's an informal exclusion because it's just it's off the books.
I don't see how the school benefits from that, because you're saying that they tell you to go off and not take the exam. Is that not recorded as, you know, absentee pupil or whatever? Surely that drags down the average school. I would have thought.
Yeah, so it's more than just don't take the exams. It's also stuff like, you know, and it is all the problem is a lot of this is anecdotal, so I can't say there are X number of pupils. You know, it's all anecdotal because we don't keep the data. But stuff like parents being pressured into homeschooling their kid. Oh, we just don't think he fits into the school environment. He'd be much better off at home. Why don't you do that?
And do they say in that tone, or are you just adding that in?
Yeah, well, no, sometimes. I mean that's. You know, I'm trying to give a persuasive argument that a parent might go, oh, okay, sure. I want the best for my kid, and I know he's not doing well at school. Let me just take him out, and maybe that will be better for him. And sometimes that is the best. Sometimes that is a good outcome. But to be honest, if the school is pressuring a parent to do that because they actually don't want this kid, they don't want to be dealing with this kid, then it's that sort of thing. Or, and it's not just sort of sending a kid to a library and that's it. That's one informal exclusion, but it happens to the same kids over and over and over again. So those are the ones that fall behind. They're not given any sort of alternative education to keep up. They're not allowed to keep up or given the resources they'd need to catch up with what they've missed. So they feel more alienated and less part of the school.
And Maurice, you said no stats are being kept on this. That is worrying, isn't it? Because there's no way of knowing how many children fall between the gaps.
Yeah, and there's not no stats. So we put out freedom of information requests to 32 boroughs, and sort of only a third of them even replied. And of those that did, of the sort of 10 or so that did, the information was really sketchy. And most schools don't, because these things, by definition, they're not recorded. Because they're informal, it's very hard to get a measure of, well, how many times has this happened and who is it happening to? Is it happening to the same kids over and over again? So all we're left with is the anecdotal, and we did lots of focus groups where we spoke to young people, and they were 100% convinced. Obviously, that's not statistically provable, but they are convinced that it's about discrimination. They are convinced that they're prejudged, that some kids are thrown out for talking loudly or for having hair braids or for, all sorts of things that they think are racialised. Now, whether that's true or not, the only way we know is by getting the data. And we don't collect the data.
Of course it is. Do you know what happens to children who are informally excluded like this? If you're sent home because you don't fit in at the school, where do you go to? What happens to you after that?
Yeah, well, this is kind of the biggest problem because it's informal, because it's not recorded. It's not. Often nothing happens to them. They literally go home, or they sit there kicking their heels, or they walk around the park and get into trouble. Whatever it is they might do, it's such a dangerous situation for young people to be in. Which is why we really sort of we'd say let's not exclude any kids at all. But if that is going to happen, you really, really need strong safeguards in place, making sure that the kid really is supported more than a kid that's in school, obviously, because this kid has already got challenges. So they need to be more supported. Sadly, that's not the case. Or it's often not the case, I should say.
I don't know if you've gone back to your alma mater, Spencer Park School. Have things improved there or not, do you think? From when you were there?
Dotun, my old school is now luxury houses. So
okay. Well, let's talk about Emmanuel instead, because that's where you went to afterwards. Yeah, Emmanuel.
No. So I went to Spencer Park. I got into Emmanuel, got a scholarship. When I was 11, and I balked at the idea and decided that it was full of posh people and I wanted to go to Spencer Park. And I told the headmaster this, and that was the end of me at Emmanuel. So I didn't go to Emmanuel.
And are you still a Labour councillor in Battersea?
I am, yeah. I am still a Labour councillor in Battersea. We've got there's an election coming up in May where I might get to represent the area that I grew up in. The first place my mum moved to, and we got a council flat in Battersea. That'll be quite emotional if that happens. So,
of course,
yeah.
I can imagine. And your role as a councillor, is there anything that you can do to make some kind of intervention in the local schools?
Well, again, this is half the problem is that schools often are. If a school's an academy, the local authority actually has quite minimal control over the school. And that's a lot of the problem. You haven't got the sort of, the local education authorities.
In London Education Authority,
all that sort of, there's so little control now by councils. So we as councils, we can write to headmasters and say, oh, this doesn't look good, but that's pretty much it. It's much more about educating the parents and the young people about what their rights are. That's maybe something that we can do.
Maurice, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Just out of interest, what is Race on the Agenda? Is it a think tank or something like that?
Yeah, so we're a social policy think tank. So we come up with the solutions to systemic racism. We work with communities to find the answers.
What's the solution here, do you think? In terms of
well, like I say, first off, better recording. Let's record the stuff let's actually record what's happening. Let's educate teachers and pupils about what should and shouldn't go on, and let's make sure kids are supported so that we don't have to exclude them. Let's make sure we go upstream and we sort the problems out before they come to kids being chucked out of school.
Maurice, thank you. Really appreciate that, mate.
Brilliant.
I look forward to seeing you soon. Maurice Macleod there, Director of Race on the Agenda, ROTA. His view is that hundreds of